So let's talk about some of these fungal partnerships. So lichens are associated with rocks, and so they have a fungus association because they actually will break down rock into usable materials. Then we have mycorrhizae. Mycorrhizae are actually found with the root systems of plants. And so they'll actually work with the root systems of plants, producing nutrients for the plant, and also the plant giving nutrients back because it gives nitrogen back to them. So what about fungus in industry? So what do we use it for? So one, we use it for foods. If you go to your grocery store, you can look at fungus. They're everywhere. We also use yeast, which we don't always consider a fungus, for things like baking and making wine and beers. And in fact, one of the most expensive foods in the world is truffles. Truffles are found, well, you can find them in many places in the world, but the most expensive truffles are found in France by pigs or small dogs, and they're about $1,000 per pound. We can also use fungus for medicine like penicillin, which is actually formed from a mold. Bread molds are able to produce cortisone, which we use to treat allergies. And yeast we can actually use to produce vaccines for hepatitis B. We can also use them for alternative fuels, such as yeast, which produces gasohol, a little bit different than ethanol, which we use yeast now for, and adding some other materials to it, we can actually produce ethanol from that, which we do in all of our plants around this area. Fungus is important for an ecosystem because it has an important ecological niche. It breaks down matter. Not only organic, but also inorganic matter. It allows for it to put nutrients back into the soil. It makes soil itself, and it allows for the dead and decaying organisms to be recycled back into the environment. However, it can also cause some nasty infections. And so one of the things we look at is dermophytes, which means dermis. They're affecting fungus that affect your skin. It also affects your hair and nails. Now the problem with this is that we have some fungus that is pretty darn nasty and very contagious. And that would be athlete's foot and ringworm are two that are really contagious. Toenail fungus can be, but not quite as bad. And basically what they're doing is they're absorbing nutrients from your body, and they're giving off a waste. The waste we have a reaction to and causes a external manifestation of this fungus. We also have some funguses that, when ingested or become internalized, can cause vomiting, diarrhea, liver damage, and even death. And some of those, if they get into your lungs, like fungal pneumonia, can kill you. So here's ringworm. Ringworm is not a worm. It's just a fungal infection. You can cure it with an antifungal cream. However, it is highly contagious. If you have a surface that you touch and you have ringworm, the next person that touches it will get ringworm. Wrestlers find this as a very common infection that they have during wrestling season if mats aren't cleaned correctly. Also, people on farms will get this because this can actually go from one species to the next. So if you have kitties with ringworm and you touch them and hold them, you can get it from them. And so we see young kids get that who live on farms quite a bit if they have a lot of stray cats running around. It's a pretty common disease within cats. Athlete's foot is a very common disease. I'd recommend never, ever, ever walking around barefoot in a locker room. Athlete's foot can last for an extremely long period of time. Now, this is an extreme case of athlete's foot where somebody hasn't left it treated for a long period of time because you can see that the skin is cracking and almost bleeding, but it is very easy to contract. It's also very easy to treat. And so it is just fine if you're going to walk around the locker room without shoes on. To make sure that you get some antifungal creams or sprays and put those on your feet on a regular basis so this doesn't happen to you. And then we found toenail fungus. Now again, extreme case. Toenail fungus is actually growing on your nails. You can find some fingernail polish that has an antifungal in it that will treat that. But it's basically growing on the nail, growing it up and around. It's very disgusting. The nail becomes very brittle, yellowish in color, It is, however, very hard to get rid of in advanced cases. Old people seem to have this quite a bit. And so you are going to be doing a mushroom lab and a virtual lab, and then you're going to have you're going to create a Prezi. All right, have a good week.